me just call Fred here.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Fred, how's it going? Hey, I was listening to that last track. Hey, where are you?
My home studio.
That's your studio.
Yeah, my home studio.
Wow, it looks a lot different from this morning.
Yeah, I just keep collecting, just keep getting more and more equipment. I mean, that's just how it is. I'm just an equipment nerd, so I just keep filling up the room.
I see. Hey, Fred, is that a virtual background you're using?
No.
Really?
Why would I do that?
Okay, when did you get that Rhodes?
I got it, I bought it from another studio last year.
Uh-huh.
They were just selling off a bunch of stuff, so yeah, it's really good. I mean, I love it. It's got that kind of rickety sound that I kind of like because it's a real Rhodes.
I got a question. Can you, right now, while we're on this call, can you just plug that Strat behind you? I just want to hear the tone.
I love my Strat. I think that's got a really good tone, and the Telecaster does too. So the Telecaster and the Strat, I'll just probably record them both, and I'll send those out to you, and just let me know what you think, right? It's good to see you, buddy.
No, actually, we're really tight on time. If you could plug it in now, why don't you grab it? Let's just grab it. I just want to hear it.
They're up and tuned. I detuned them and then tuned them up again. So it's like special tuning. I just don't want to get it down right now. But, I got my Moog right here. Get ready to go. I can't wait for you to hear it. I'll record it and I'll send it to you.
Hey, hold on a second. One more question. That patch bay you got going on back there behind you?
Yeah.
How does that work? Can you just show me some of those patches that you got going on?
Yeah, what do I care? It's my studio. I love it. I'm going to go fix the patches.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just patching these up.
Wow.
Really good.
Impressive.
I want the sound to be good for you, man. I'm fixing them.
Oh man, happy Monday, everybody. Hope you guys had a great holiday. Had a nice break. Maybe you guys got into some music. Hopefully you had some time with family and some good food as well. But we're back for another Office Hours Monday, and today is a special Office Hours because we've invited a very special guest, someone that, if you guys have been watching along at all this year, there's undoubtedly at least one name that you recognize from the chat, and we recognize it as well. So we asked her to join us today. It's our good friend Danielle Barkman. How you doing, Danielle?
Great. How are you all doing?
Doing awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. I feel like we already know each other so well because I see you in the chat all the time. Every show, you're always there, being incredibly helpful and supportive and positive. Most importantly, it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. And yeah, the positive thing just makes everything go better. So why not do that?
Right? The world works fine when you're being happy and positive. Yeah, there's nice. So where are you joining us from?
I'm in Lexington, Kentucky at my home mix room for Nitrosonic Studios.
Nice. So yeah, tell us a little bit more about your studio, because you've committed, you jumped right into Luna. I think day one you were there for the first show. You've been all in on Luna basically since day one. Tell us a little bit about your studio and how working with Luna has been for you this year.
Well, the studio's great. We had been working out of this studio it's been here since 2005, and I started doing some managing and some session drumming. We ended up having a chance to buy it. We jumped at it, and now we're one of the only female-owned and operated studios in the country.
Oh, wow. There's not that many. Unfortunately, the female contingent is small, right?
Yeah, it is, but we're doing what we can to get the numbers up.
Nice. And so, how's Luna been a part of what you've been doing this year?
Oh, Luna, ever since I figured out from the hints with the tape reels that you all made a recording system, and I was actually actively bugging everyone I knew at the company trying to get it before it came out.
Uh-huh.
With no luck, but I tried diligently. But watched the NAM presentation. I didn't get to go last year, but watched it all live and was just like, wow, okay, we're switching immediately. And then you all dropped it, and we were like, oh, okay, we have nothing else to do.
Uh-huh.
Let's learn this. And the office hours, the episodes, you all have helped us so much. I mean, I've never seen support like this from a company that just the really nitty gritty stuff, the things that you have to work with it forever to even realize you want to know, and you all are right there answering it. So we've, everyone that watches this was on a crash course, and we switched by the next time we had a session. Well, we taught ourselves by going back and taking all our open mixes and starting them over.
Yeah, exactly.
We stemmed everything out that we were working on from Logic, clean, and pulled it in, and we're like, okay, now let's start pushing buttons.
Yep.
And it's so intuitive, though. I mean, we were going in a couple of weeks. It felt like we'd been doing it forever.
Oh, totally. And that's, yeah, I mean, it's been a fun learning experience. The best part is, like, we're kind of all in the same boat together. Like, even like Matt, Drew, and myself, like, we're constantly like testing out the new features, learning how they work, and then trying to get that information out as fast as possible. Like that, it's basically become our job for the years, like, to stay up with the rapid iteration that's been Luna. And it's also, man, it is so awesome to be able to hear back from people in real time, like what's working, what's not working, like, especially those first couple months where Connor and Lev were on the broadcast with us all the time, like getting that sort of relationship and connection going between the Luna devs and the audience that's using it, and the people who are like down to try it out right away. It was man, it's been such a fun process to be a part of.
Well, and even all of this, I mean, like I can remember, like Ben and Matt and myself to a much smaller extent, put this all together in like a matter of days. Like Ben's like, when we got the word that Luna's going to release early, we're like, and Ben's like, all right, we're going live on Monday. And it was just like, we just kind of put this all together, mostly Ben, but put it all together really quickly. And it's just been, it's been a blast to like Ben said, figure stuff out and make mistakes on the air and find bugs and, find workarounds and all that stuff. It's been great.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're all software team. I've never seen updates come out this fast.
Yeah, right?
I mean, on top of it.
For any software, let alone the audio industry, which is usually a year behind everything for compatibility, you all must drink a lot of caffeine.
Right? They certainly do. They get some good coffee. Unfortunately, everyone's working from home this year, so it's been a very different dynamic. Like all this work has happened with all of UA's teams. We're all distributed across the country and across the world now. So yeah, it's been a whole different situation, different paradigm for working. But obviously everything's we're making it work and been able to deliver not only new features but lots of bug fixes and be able to just continue to make this a great tool to use. So speaking of, if you guys in the chat, if you guys have got any questions for us, still Q&A Monday. I'm gonna be asking Danielle lots of questions because I'm super curious to learn more about what she's working on. But if you guys have got questions about Luna, feel free to hit us up in the chat, and we'll bring some of those up here on air and or try to hit them in the chat as well.
So Mr. The Walrus says, all this time you've been streaming from Fred Armisen's studio, Ben.
Yeah, secret's out.
I thought I saw him walk past the door a second ago.
Yep, he totally did. That's him. It's me, Fred, and my wife. We all live here together.
Roomies.
Yeah, right.
That's I'm waiting to happen.
Oh, totally. Well, man, filming those, I was lucky enough to be a part of the production for these 12 days videos, and yeah, getting to sit on a Zoom call and just watch Fred and Eli do their magic, like it's truly like. It's like seeing John Coltrane play saxophone is seeing Fred Armisen do comedy. Like it's really truly special, and like everything he's able to come with off the top of his head is just absolutely incredible. So yeah,
how much? So a lot of that was a lot of that ad libbed, Ben, off the top.
100%.
100%.
The only thing that we knew when we started any of those videos was the concept, the idea that we were going to go do, and then
the basic premise.
And then we just let them go loose, and that's what you've seen is what you get. It's pure comedy. But yeah, so sorry, I did see a good question here. Someone was asking about Mojave versus Catalina. I'm on Catalina. Matt, you're on Catalina, I believe, right?
At Mojave.
You're on Mojave. Nice. Yep. Danielle, what are you on? Catalina or Mojave? Drew?
I've actually spent the last 2 years on Mojave, and then just recently did a fresh rebuild on Catalina. So I don't other than having to click allow 9,000 times in Catalina.
Yeah.
They seem pretty similar, you know?
Mm-hmm. Nice. I see Garrett's asking, is there a way to clear single sessions from the recent list? I don't think you can clear just one session, right? You have to clear them all.
It's all or nothing. Yeah, all or nothing.
Yeah, so if you're hiding your solo side project from your bandmates, just keep your recent session always clear.
Yeah.
Nice. Mojave, yep, a lot of people on Mojave. Yeah, it is a hassle when you do the changeover, but as soon as you're up and running, then I don't know about you guys, but I make it kind of like a yearly habit. We were talking just before we went on air, like, basically every year I rebuild a system from scratch. It's a huge pain in the ass, and like you have to unauthorize a bunch of software and reauthorize. Like, yeah, it's never a fun couple of days, but the result is nice.
Yeah, it definitely is helpful. And one thing I recommend for sure is I do a text document. So I have a text document that's called rebuild partition sequence, and that's what I call it. And it basically, it just documents everything, including like usernames and passwords and serial numbers and everything. So once you do it once, then you've got this document to refer to, and it's super, makes it a lot easier afterwards.
Oh, that's more organized than I do it.
How do you do it?
I'd show it to you if it didn't have a bunch of passwords.
I remember everything.
Nice.
My rule is once the hard drive hits 50%, it's time to be cleaned out and started over again.
Yeah, it's a pretty good policy. And then of course your hard drive year over year just gets larger and larger, I assume, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Is multi-out getting close? No updates on multi-out yet. I will, I'm gonna hint some stuff. We got a big week this week. This week we've, today's show, special guest, amazing. Tomorrow we've got the follow-up with Jakir King. If you guys remember, we did a big multi-day recording session with Jakir, and that song "Side Hustle" that him and the band K Club were putting together. We've now got the final mix of that session in. So we're going to be walking through that mix with Shakir tomorrow, and the Luna session for that should be up and available, I think, tomorrow as well. It might be Wednesday. It might be a day late on this one, but either way, that Luna session is arriving in the app this week as well. And then Thursday, we've got the beat battle. So hopefully you guys have been seeing the emails for this already and submitted your beats, but if you haven't already, we're doing a UA Beatmaker Challenge, where if you submit a beat, if your beat gets picked by Young Guru and Anthony Cruz, we've got a singer and a rapper lined up to write a song over it. These are artists that Anthony and Guru both work with. They'll write a song to it, and then we'll be able to see that vocal session happening live, and then quickly follow that session up with a mix-off where Anthony and Young Guru will take the same set of stems and mix it two different ways, and we get to kind of see how that process all goes. So it's on top, and this is all in addition to winning like Apollos and UAD plugins for the winning beats as well. So
nice.
It's a really cool special thing here to close out the year. And then
I was shocked. The prizes for this thing,
huge.
When you see this stuff, it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. You definitely want to check this out.
Yeah, and then
enter, or is it over already?
No, today is the last day. Today is the very last day to enter.
So go to uaudio.com/live and scroll down a little bit, and you'll see an entry form there. You can enter with your Facebook login or your email or whatever you're going to do, and it's all right there on the UA Live page.
Cool.
Yeah, and then 2 Mondays from now will be the final Office Hours episode of the year, and we're gonna go out with a big bang. And by a big bang, I mean a huge giveaway of swag. We got T-shirts, we got socks, we got a little bit of everything for you guys. But I've got like 100 or 200 of these swag packs to give away to all of our loyal viewers. So if you or someone you know wants some really cool UA shirts, make sure you guys are tuned in 2 Mondays from now, where we'll be giving away those here on air. That's gonna be a really fun show as well. Nice. Is it okay to enter even if you don't want prizes other than swag? I have all the fancy stuff. Yeah, you can. You know what, Zenit? You can totally still enter, even if you don't want the Apollo. Nice. All right, I'm scrolling back through the chat here. See lots of thank you guys, Victor. Yep, see lots of familiar names here. Fiddle Me This. I saw you're working on some cool projects.
And just so, while Ben's scrolling, everybody, I've seen a couple people asking about Big Sur and about M1. So, nothing to announce at this time, but, the team's working really hard on it. Big Sur will come first. M1 will probably come after that. But, just know that we're on it, and nothing to announce at this time, but things are looking good. So hang in there and nice. Keep an eye on uaudio.com or help.uaudio.com for the latest.
Yep. Rico had a question for you, Danielle. What DAW were you using before Luna in your studio?
Logic Pro.
Logic Pro? Nice. Mm-hmm. And so how's the tracking experience been? Like,
so much better now. We don't have that passing back and forth between everything. It's just we hear. I mean, it's effortless. It was when I first started using console and the Apollos, I was like, wow, if they just made this record, we wouldn't even need Logic. And then like 14 months or so later, bam. So,
so are you a console tracking girl, or are you a non-console tracking girl? What is your workflow like?
We usually set things up in console, and that way we can recall, because we do full band sessions sometimes, and having the ability to have the vocals hop tracks as you click your inputs, that channel hopping input is brilliant. That saves so much time on its own. And being able to recall a session, if we had to retrack something, we're back to where it sounded in minutes.
Yeah, it's great how it remembers all those chains for you.
I assume, and especially now, are you making good use of the versions and the session bookmarks and all those sorts of things on your tracks?
Possibly obsessively, compulsively, a bit too much.
Yeah,
like I'll make a version and I'll make a bookmark that says it starts here. Yeah, those are great, especially since there's 2 or 3 of us that run the studio, and we all have ideas. We can all play with versions and then be like, oh, I like that, or oh, what you came up with was great, let's use that. And it lets everyone be as creative as they want without fear of destroying anything.
Yeah, right. You've always got a back. You can always get back to where you came. So in your main, so obviously we're in your mix room right now, so you're running this off a Aero and a satellite. For your main room, what sort of Apollo complement do you have in there?
We've got our regular setup is 2 X8Ps and a quad, twin. That's the word. Twin quad. Sorry. And we've occasionally imported a few more X8Ps for bigger sessions, and typically most things we do we can pull off with the 3 of those, though.
Yeah, 18 mic inputs. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Takes care of most things.
That's awesome. And so we've obviously throughout the year you guys have seen some of our go-to UAD plugins. You've seen us pulling stuff up all the time. Do you have some favorite? I saw someone asking specifically around Unison plugins. Do you have some favorite Unison plugins that you find yourself gravitating towards more often than not?
Well, ever since the 1084 came out, that's just my go-to. And I love the sound. I love boosting it a little bit up around 16 and getting that air into everything.
Yep.
And it's just so easy and reliable. But at the same time, now that we have API summing to play with, I've been playing with the Vision channel strip more. And get, let's do a little compression in here while we're at it. And all that. Let's see, other unison. Oh, there's so many. I've actually been starting a list, and I'm going through and getting equipment list for some of the studios that some of the my favorite stuff was ever recorded in. And I'm getting it worked out to where I can, model that in Luna. And as we now have API, we can do Sound City.
Yes.
So we can get like that Fleetwood Mac Rumors sound if we use the Vision, and then we use the API summing, and then throw that API 2500 on the mix bus.
Right.
And it's so easy. Boom, click, you're done.
Well, yeah, and that's one of the things a lot of people ask me on a day-to-day basis is like, how come we can't do, why can't we do summing? Why can't we use the API summing or the Neve summing in my DAW and stuff? And that's because to truly emulate a console, it's not just some plugin you slap on the master, our ecosystem, we've got these channel strips going, and now we're building the summing for the buses in the main out. And it's like it all kind of works together. A lot of people don't notice. I've actually had people who don't notice that the faders change when you switch between API summing and Neve summing, like the actual fader taper and the feel of the taper, it changes. Did that confuse you at first?
Yeah, I was like, is this a bug, or am I just not educated in large format consoles enough?
Yeah, well, because that's, the summing is more than just that. It's not just a plugin. It's the fader taper and the pan law and the way it all kind of works together with the channel strip. So it's cool to hear you saying, you're putting together the Vision strip, which, and that's kind of like what Jeff Balding did, right, Ben, in his, in the demos, which was really, that was a great show, and it showed off that API summing like crazy, and that whole sort of console emulation concept that Luna's really starting to pull together.
Well, that's, you guys are both hitting on it. It's like, to me, it's the cumulative effect, right? It's the processing through Unison, going through, say, like you mentioned, Danielle, like going through the Vision channel strip, right? So now you've got a little touch of the API sound on the way in, then you're processing it, busting stuff together, getting it summed through API summing, going through an API 2500, and ever since we've been doing some of these shows, I've been pulling out the API 560 EQ and the 550, because one of the things, I can't remember if we talked about it on air or if it was off, but with Jeff, he was like, dude, sometimes I use the 550 and I don't touch it. He's like, I just put it on a track and I don't actually EQ it, because 2 dB, that's it, right? Exactly. It's just like, by just putting it on there, you get that little something. And there's been a few mixes now where, literally just inserting the 560 or the 550 on a track is actually all it needed. It didn't really need any EQ touches. Yeah,
for sure. I always tell people there's no sledgehammers in audio. It's just, subtlety stacked on subtlety stacked on subtlety.
Except for Peter Gabriel.
Oh, yes.
Sledgehammer. Nice. See our perennial, when is Luna coming for PC? Sometime. Sometime.
We'll all be like, oh, wow.
Yeah. Contrary to popular belief, it takes a really long time to develop software.
Yeah, and it takes a lot more effort to do it on two platforms simultaneously than it does to focus on one.
Cybrand saying we really need some proper Behringer summing here. You know what? Hit the feedback button if you guys really want to see the Behringer summing architecture in here. So Rico's also got a good question here. So not sure if you guys have answered this before, but what's the advantage of using Luna summing versus throwing on a console emulation plugin on a bus? So Drew, you kind of spoke to a few of these, right? It's like, it's beyond, it's part of the sound. It's how it gets added together. There's a couple other side advantages, right? Where you're getting VU meters to be able to judge, to help your gain staging into that bus.
Yeah.
You get easy, headroom controls, trim controls at a bus level. Again, those are all pre your bus fader. So yeah, if you were to put this as a plugin, like down in the inserts, yeah, are there any other advantages to doing it the extension way?
Yeah, well, like the what what I mentioned to Danielle a few minutes ago is that the whole concept of the pan law and the fader taper, right?
Yeah.
Now the pan law is the same for Luna and it's the same for Neve and it's the same for API because those consoles all had that 3dB pan law, but that might not always be the case moving forward. It's the other consoles did have different pan laws that they tinkered around with, and then the fader taper, which is basically it's a small thing, but it is a feel thing, and it makes it increases the feel and the tactile feel of actually working on that desk. But so it all kind of comes together, and it's works as a system. And Luna's young. We're not the whole extension concept. We've only done a few things yet. Like this thing's got a lot of legs. So you're just going to see things develop in the coming months and years. It's we're just getting going.
Mm-hmm.
So
I've been hitting the feedback button for channel strip extensions since day one.
Yeah, you're not far off there, and that's the cool thing about it too is it's built into the mixing architecture, right? So like it's you don't have to manage it like it's another plugin. It's these are kind of like it's just small like quality of life advantages, right? Of like it's built into the channel strip. You're not having to open up another plugin window just to adjust your summing architecture in there. And it's also very lightweight. I've done mixes where I've got like 10 plus groups and they all have summing on it and they all have tape running. The fact that all these are running native, it saves me from having to use either DSP or use a heavier weight CPU plugin to do this sort of emulation. So the fact that it's super efficient, easy to control, built right into the mixer, it's kind of it becomes easier to use it than to not use it. And then the fact that like things sound, it gives things a sound. We've talked about this a bunch on the show. Like it ends up meaning less processing on the raw tracks. I'm sure you've experienced this as well, Danielle, right? Of like by having integrated tape, integrated summing, integrated ATR, master tape, like having all these things integrated, are you finding yourself having to do less EQ and compression?
Yeah, really 90% of the tracking we do anymore, it's just a nice preamp with a little bit of EQ and maybe a little compression afterwards, but sometimes we don't even need it. And the thing that we've really noticed is once you get Luna set up right for a session, once you have the tape adjusted and you've got your summing and everything's hitting right,
mm-hmm.
That's when you actually think that's when you need to start that's when your mix starts.
Yeah,
because by the time you get to that point, so many things you thought you were going to need to do have already cleaned themselves up and sound great. And we kind of reprogrammed the way we look at it. It's like that's until everything's got the Luna juice on it. You don't want to think too critically about it.
Trademark that. It's a t-shirt idea, Ben. Luna juice.
Oh, speaking of, tonight's the last full moon of the year.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Wow. Special night.
I think they called it the full beaver moon.
Fiddle me's seeing the studio kitty behind you there, Danielle.
That is Binky. She showed up on our roof a few months ago, and we kind of had to adopt her.
Oh, Binky.
Binky, and she is 10 months old, and she's already like 3 times the size of our other cat.
Nice. See, Prince.
So you were saying you were on you're like Unison stuff, but what do you find? Are you doing stuff in the record effect slots other than Unison slots? Do you find you're doing a little bit of compression on the way in?
Yeah, the whole 1176 refresh has got me so excited, and then of course the Neve dynamics, because you follow the preamp with that, and that's just it's done.
Yeah.
2254 is pretty special.
Having those headroom controls and things like that have been added into the compressors. Oh, things are, you can get so much more subtle now, and it's so easy to get to it. It's almost like a cheat for your gain staging.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I've covered this a couple times too, right? Of like a lot of times I end up using compressors as they're kind of like my judge of where I'm at, like how hard am I hitting things, right? Especially that SSL. We talked about this with Greaves when had him on to talk about the Luna session that we did together. That SSL bus compressor on the main bus, to me, that's my judge of like how hard am I hitting it. But every once in a while, like especially if you've added in automation, you've kind of like baked your mix upstream. It can get harder. It gets harder and harder the more entrenched it gets up there to to fix your gain stage. If you feel like you're coming in too hot, that's where having that headroom control, being able to just go, you know what, open it up 2, 3, 4 dB more. It allows you to add back that life and a little bit more dynamics to stuff if you feel like it's getting too squashed. So you get a question here from Rich asking on creating versions, if you delete 2 tracks and then save a version, can you get back to the original file that contains those deleted tracks? Yes, but I would suggest saving your version and then deleting the tracks. That would be the one thing, because you may notice, right, when you go to save a version, it asks if you want to save the changes before you make the version. So it's kind of it's one of the mental processes that I've gotten used to in the last couple of months is like, before I do something big is when I save my version, not right after I do something big. So if you're thinking about making an adjustment, do your version and then make your tweak, and then the cool thing about Luna is it holds on to that information. If the audio file is being used as part of the session, it's going to stay inside the session file, as long as you're not going digging in there and deleting WAV files out of the session package. Those all that audio information will still be in there. And Danielle, you were saying that you obsessively use versions. Have you had any versions or bookmarks of Saved Your Butt scenarios come and play yet?
Oh yeah. It saves me from having to pull out the backup drive a lot.
Mm-hmm. Right. And being able to go back into a version and have the undo there, like there's a lot of really cool stuff that you can do with versions and bookmarks.
Yeah, I mean, being able to go all the way back to when you first started the track, if you had to.
Mm-hmm.
Or
right.
if you just quit mixing a song and you want to start over for the 8th time.
Mm-hmm. You just want a fresh start for the 8th time.
Yeah.
Nice.
Super final mix number 8.
Right. Funk Monk said summing in ARM mode would be awesome for live performance. Not how it's meant to be, but still, yep, total. I hear you on that. You may have seen Funk Monk, the show that we did with Rhett Scholl and Andy as engineer. We kind of covered how they're using Luna for live shows, and one of the key things that they're doing is they're not running it in ARM mode for that purpose. So that way they're able to have summing, add tape, and still deliver that to the real-time broadcast. So they had a super complex system of mixing live inside of Luna, but also providing real-time cues to the musicians. So if you didn't check that show out, I'd highly recommend that one. All right. I see lots of requests for sidechain. Make sure you guys are hitting the feedback button, letting the devs know that sidechain's important. Prince Jordan, I see you're asking about instruments and Roland drum machines. So so for instruments for third party, any AU instrument works inside of Luna. So if it's an AU instrument, you'll be able to find it here inside of Luna. For working with something like a Roland drum machine, I've got one sitting over there. Easiest way to work with one of those that I find is running it using the MIDI beat clock. So that way you can operate the machine just like you normally would in terms of programming and doing all the sounds. But then as soon as you press play or record inside Luna sends its clock information over to the Roland drum machine, and it starts playing back that pattern. And I'm pretty sure we covered this in one of the office hours where I showed you kind of how to track out beats from something like an MPC or a Roland drum machine.
Yeah, if you go on our YouTube, if you go to YouTube and search Luna V1.1 deep dive, you'll get that. That one will come right up where Matt did a great demo of all that, and Ben as well did demos of those workflows.
Yeah. Francisco's got a good question. Are these plugins emulations are they fancy EQ and compressor? I've never used 1/3 of these plugins and spending a choice amount in this application. I'm not sure if I'm hearing the real thing. So Francisco, you are definitely hearing the real thing. So this is for anyone's maybe a little bit newer to the platform, the idea behind UAD plugins was to make the most authentic, true to the hardware emulations of studio gear that we know and love. Like Danielle was mentioning, like you look up the records that you love. They were recorded on API consoles, Neve consoles. They were recorded on these legendary pieces of audio gear, and they're legendary because they sound good. Because like they have, it's a lot. It's a mixture of functionality, but most importantly, it's about the sonics. And everyone on the dev team, they spend an insane amount of time developing these plugins and putting together, making them so they not only function like the real units do, but that they sound. Will Shanks, who we've had on the show a couple times, his gig is helping fine tune and perfect the sound of all these plugins, not just in like the normal ranges, but also like in the insane, like turning the Neve 1084 all the way cranked up and distorting the crap out of it. He makes sure that when you've completely blown it up, like as an effect or just whatever, that they sound
it blows up right.
Exactly. It has to blow up the exact same way. So that integrity to sound, that's paramount to everything that we do at UA, that it sounds and emulates it. But you ask, sorry, what'd you say, Dan?
Warts and all.
Warts and all. Yep, exactly.
Well, and to build on what Ben's saying is like, and I think with maybe what the original poster was kind of like asking about was, can I get the same thing with just EQing or something like that? Can I get that same vibe? And the thing that's really different about it is the dynamic nature of things. Like that's that's the key thing about all of this, is that like tape doesn't sound the same when you're hitting it with this much signal as it does with that much signal. So like, and that's what audio production has always been. It's always been about getting all of these different things to, come together in very unique and ever-changing dynamic ways. And so it's not just a simple matter of, the ATR 102 makes my mix sound a little brighter. Well, it's like, it doesn't have to, you can make it darker, but it does all sorts of little subtle things all baked into the models. It's like, so it's not as simple as just simple frequency curves or IRs or, any sort of static things that maybe some other companies do. But
yeah. And for me, man, that was the thing I learned, finally getting to work. I grew up using computers to make music. So like I didn't, my first experiences of making music were like, crappy audio interfaces and Behringer mixers and stuff like that in high school. Right. Yep. And then you go to a real studio and you're like, oh wow, finally a U87. Oh, a Neve and you the first time I don't know about you guys, but like the first time I heard an actual 1176, I was like, oh, that's what it sounded like. I knew the Bomb Factory 76. I knew the one that came with Pro Tools. I knew what that sounded like, and I was like, wait a second, this real one sounds nothing like that. What's going on? And man, there's this intangible quality to analog audio. Like, there's a reason like so many people obsess and invest so much into the analog audio that it feels and sounds different. It gets you, for me, it gets me to the destination faster in a lot of ways. Like doing this with a super precise EQ or compressor, it's just not going to give you the same non-linearities, which is what Drew was mentioning. Like the inconsistencies are kind of they're kind of the magic sauce inside of these things.
We're trying to bring back the idea of people like in the 70s and 80s, engineers would use a tool but didn't know why it did what it did, but it just did what it did and it contributed to things, So when an engineer says, man, I really like that compressor, what they really mean is I like what it does and how it sounds, right? And so like I think we're one of the few companies that's really doing that, like sonics and functionality, and like really and making it so the user doesn't have to, they just know the tool and the tool's going to help them get where they need to go, So it's like, it's kind of and I know I've always reached for gear that like helped me out, that did something for me sonically beyond just the functionality,
Nice. Man, you guys, there's too many nice comments in the chat this morning. You guys are awesome. I see all these good ones.
Yay, people are being positive because I'm not there to be positive.
They're filling in the gap. Well,
Yeah.
you're being positive up on here. What's so Danielle, in terms of like, I want to talk music with you. Like, what sort of projects are you getting to work on, and what type of music you guys doing in Kentucky?
We do everything in Kentucky. You would think it's a lot of banjo music.
Stereotypically.
It's only about 42% banjo music. We really have a diverse music scene in this state. I mean, everything from just simple acoustic bands all the way to screaming crazy metal bands. We've got some wonderfully delicious weird bands here that just shouldn't exist anywhere on earth, and they just magically do. Kind of bands where every time they start a new song, you have no idea what you're in for.
Yeah.
Those are the best kind.
Yeah, like Mr. Bungle little version.
Nice.
And you all are playing here in Kentucky. This is great. But we get a lot of acoustic, singer-songwriter stuff. We actually do a decent amount of hip-hop through here too. And now we've started doing mastering, and I'm trying to get that more off the ground. That's been a big chunk of time. Besides learning Luna, I've been deep diving on trying to get my mastering skills up, and I'm happy to say I'm doing okay.
I remember you responded to our little plug-in tip for the Oxford Dynamic EQ, if I remember correctly, when we did that a couple months ago. Was that a couple months ago?
Yeah, I keep that one on standby in my mastering chain. That and the precision limiter. It's usually going to be one or the other. But my trick with the Oxford that's really fun is I use it on a bus. I have 3 buses for my masters, and I have the VSM3, so I can fade in a little bit of distortion and fuzz, and then I've got a Shadow Hills that I can just crank the living crap out of, and the Oxford limiter down on the end, so if I want to give it a little bit of that curve and that feel, I can just do it through that way and blend it in, and so much more control that way.
So I'm curious, so are you taking your source track, and then are you kind of routing it through these 3 different chains and blending those in parallel? Is that how you're doing it?
Yeah, over here where it starts in this one, actually, I threw an ATR on the track just so I could get real fine control on it. Usually they're up here, but that's basically the sound coming in, and then I just have a little bit of this secret weapon right here.
Yes, that one.
That's one of my Desert Island plugins. That and the Shadow Hills both. If you can't fix it with this, you don't know what the knobs do.
Yeah. which you very well may not like. It's one of the very intimidating plugins in terms of like giving you so much precision, so much control over the sound, right?
Oh yeah, I looked at it when I was getting to know it. I probably spent more time looking at it than touching it, just almost afraid, oh no, but it's just a knob. Yeah, it's what I tell myself anytime I don't know how to use a plugin. It's just a knob. I can't break anything. I'm not going to blow up someone's, input because I, did something wrong in the real world. So just, play with it. And if you need to undo.
Yeah, right. But it's so good to hear your mindset around that though, because like some of these things do look intimidating, especially the first time you pull them up. But you're right, like you can't ruin. We're doing this in the digital world. There's undo. You can go back. You can save a version and try stuff out. Like the being willing to experiment and kind of push things to the edge. That's really where you'll find new things that surprise you and surprise your clients as well.
Yeah.
Nice. And redoing something is not the end of the world. I remember in the old analog days, if when you screwed up a punch, if you went in a little early and cut off the word before it, guess what? You're now doing the line before it. You know, so it's like that was normal for me. Oh, you got to do it again. Sorry, I flubbed the punch. It's like, and chances are it would serendipitously it could be better. So.
People. Analog Studers didn't have a Command Z on them. I'm pretty sure.
No, they did not.
They did not. And the punches were you had to anticipate the punches. It was not like now you just hit the 3 key in and out and it's perfect. And you have handles to fix it after the fact. I mean, with you had to go 3 milliseconds early and get out 3 milliseconds early because it took 3 milliseconds to send the signal over to the machine to punch out and the machine to switch out.
Yep. Questions here in the chat are asking which plugin it is that we were geeking on. So that's the Brainworks Digital V3. Or it's the BX Digital V3 is this one here. There's also the Digital V2. They're very similar. I actually haven't quite grokked exactly what the difference is between them, but I've been using the V3.
I just figured 3 is a bigger number, so it's better.
That's what I've been doing the same thing lately. I'm like, you know what? I used to be a V2 guy, but now V3 is obviously one better.
Yeah. Great marketing right there.
Totally. In the Shadow Hills, any go-to settings on the Shadow Hills compressor that you really like?
Well, it's hard to have a go-to setting for a compressor because everything's different, but I have a starting place that it's called Danielle's Mastering Butter. And start from that, and then I play with it basically until the loudest part of the track is moving the needles about a half decibel, and then you're done. Yeah. In mastering, if you're doing more than that, you're mixing,
Yep.
and just squishing. But this is another one that it's a bit scary when you first open it up. And after if you just play with it turn off the bottom section at first, play with the optical, learn how to use that, and then realize, oh wait, I can just use the stereo button and I only have to do this side. And you eventually, after a little while, you're like, oh, I know what everything on this does, and I know how I feed one section from the other, and it becomes really intuitive for looking like something in Frankenstein's lab.
Yeah. Well, because it's such a complex unit, right? It's 2 compressors strapped together with, selectable transformer in it. Like it is one that's kind of hard to follow what's going on. 2 tips. 1, check out the main. I just overall, especially on the Shadow Hills, I highly recommend checking out the manual because it's one of the most entertaining manuals.
Yeah, it's a good read.
Right? Like, even if you don't own it, just go check it. If you guys are looking for something to read today, read the Shadow Hills Mastering Compressor manual because it's a treat.
I think I should print it and then burn it after I read it.
Exactly.
That's the way to do it.
I believe that might be what it suggests at the end of the manual.
On the last page, yep.
I didn't want to burn the computers.
Exactly. But it does a ton. But man, again, it's got a sound to it. Like the fact that you can get specific about the type of material that the transformer is built out of, and the fact that it does have an impact to the sound. It slightly changes the sound. It changes the low end response. Changes that non-linearity. Again, it's one of the things that just so many UAD plugins get known for is the fact that like they accurately emulate the real thing, and then they give you this like intangible transformation that you get just from tweaking the transformer on your Shadow Hills compressor.
Yeah, just flipping between iron and what is it, nickel and
steel.
Steel's the other one. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and you never know ahead of time which one's going to sound best. It's almost like a game. When I get to that point, it's like, okay, let's see which ones sound best. Ooh, there we go. And you just know as soon as you make the switch to the one that's right for the song, it.
You know it. Out. Yep. I see people asking in the chat here asking about noise gates. First question was, is there a standalone noise gate plugin on the UAD platform? Dynamite, yep. Valley People Dynamite. Well, it's also compressor plus gate.
Yeah, compressor plus gate.
Expander, yeah.
Yep. That one. Yeah, that one is super. It's a very musical gate. It's super easy to set, and then to me, especially like on toms, on percussive material, that one seems to just by its very nature, it reacts exactly how you want it to. Yeah, that one's really good. But then, of course, noise gates are also built into some of our channel strips. So the SSL E channel, API Vision, and the Neve
88
88
RS.
RS.
Yeah.
It's another favorite of mine too.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, the 88 RS, that's...
And the Neve DFC has a gate.
Oh,
Expanded
yeah.
gate.
Dude,
Yeah.
everyone forgets about the DFC.
Oh my God, there's a thread on Gear Sluts where people are like, 5 years later now just discovering it, and it's like their minds are blown. It's like that's such a sleeper plugin, and it's got a good gate in it too.
Yep.
I think that might be one of the plugins I've never pulled up on a mix yet. So that's gonna be my mission.
Yeah.
That's gonna be my mission for the week is
Check it out.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because it's code. It's a code port from a '90s era, Neve digital stuff. So it's like it's funny. It totally sets aside the myth that digital as getting better or what have you. It's all about the quality of the coding, and that's a good example of it because it's old code, but it sounds amazing.
Yeah. Well, so Daniel, I'm curious, so when you're learning a new plugin, so whenever we really say like the 2254, do you kind of have like a go-to method for, learning, grabbing a new plugin and starting to really understand it inside and out?
Yeah. First thing I do is look through presets and see what people way smarter than me do with the plugin.
Mm-hmm. That's a great place to start.
Based on, what it's named, it kind of tells me what it should kind of affect like, and you learn the parameters really fast if you skip through a few of those.
Mm-hmm.
And no, none of us want to just hit a preset and say we're done, but if it was a wrong thing to start from a preset, you all wouldn't have given them to us anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
But I know Jakir King has some good ideas in his head, so I will take his preset suggestions seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, your philosophy is the perfect approach. That's what the approach to presets should be. There, anybody that says, "Oh, I never mix with presets." Well, of course you don't mix with presets, but presets are a window into someone else's thinking and a window into someone else's mind, and that's the point of a preset. Is not to use it just in its current state, but it's to get insight.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So starting learning from the presets, and yeah, you're right. You kind of get like a good sense of what are the options that are mostly getting used, right? And like what are they tweaking from thing to thing, and then what do you do after you kind of cruise through some presets to really start getting a handle on how do you build that memory bank of like, oh, I know when I'm going to pull out the 2254 versus the Shadow Hills on something.
Sometimes I know, sometimes it just, you just get a feeling like this isn't quite doing what I want it to.
Mm-hmm.
I try not to think too much ahead when I'm doing mixing. I try to keep myself as much in the moment as I can.
Yeah.
And I've actually started writing things down because I've realized, if I think of something and stop and do it, and then think of something and stop and do it, you might go 10 hours without even actually hearing the song top to bottom.
Uh-huh.
And, the decisions you're making at the end can be totally different than where you were at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So pulling yourself out of it and definitely taking ear breaks and then coming back and listening to something you did, if you're playing with a new plugin, go play with the cat for a few minutes and come back and see what you got. And if you like it when you come back, then you're onto something.
Mm-hmm.
And you can either, make it better or be happy with it or just start over.
Yep.
But it's, you all gave us like sound Legos basically.
Yeah. Right.
And the beauty of it is there is no set way we have to do anything. It's what ends up sounding right.
Mm-hmm.
Is the right choices.
Yeah. Well, Matt here in the chat was saying, echoing what you're saying, of like, if he spends more than 10 minutes tweaking a plugin and it's not in the ballpark, it's not the right plugin, right?
Right.
That's totally the right idea of like, if it's not working for you, if you're not in love with what you're hearing, try something else. Like there's so many good options, and like take channel strips for an example, right? Like you can be mixing on something with the SSL channel strip, and it may sound good when you first start working on it, and then you're like 5 minutes later, you're like, man, that's not it. That's not what it is. There's other, pull up the Neve 88 RS. You've got very similar, parametric EQs, compressor, gate. You've got a lot of similar functionality, but two very different sounding channel strips. Two things that'll give you a very different end effect out of them. So yeah, if you don't love it, try something else. Keep on. But the big thing I'm hearing everybody echo here is like, you got to keep moving. You got to, like, musicians don't sit there and just practice one bar over and over and over and over and over and over and over again for an hour. You got to play it a little bit in context. You got to, like, focus in on a section, focus in on a sound, but then also zoom out and look at the big picture again and be like, is this actually helping, or am I just getting lost in the weeds here, in love with this new plugin I just bought? Which, guilty. I do this all the time.
That's what I love when you had Jeff stream. It was like, because I do exactly what he does. It's like something new comes out, it's on everything for 3 weeks. It's on everything, know, and then you figure out, then you pull it, then you dial it back a little bit.
Francisco's asked a good question. Why are there 4 tape slots but only 2 tape choices? Great question, Francisco. So
maybe you want a 30 IPS Studer and a 15 IPS Studer, maybe you want oxide, that's aggressive, and then, whatever. So, cause with the tape slots, they share the global preset, and then you have the tweakability within them, but global things like tape speed needs to be per slot. So.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, this allows you to, again, it's slightly emulating what it could be in the real world. In the real world, if you were running multiple tape machines, your tech would spend hours trying to make them all sound the same. But in the Luna world, you can have 4 different tape machines, all sound slightly different. So you can set up one machine for your drums and your bass. That's, maybe it's running at like 7.5. It's running kind of slow and really, it's got a lot of extra, sauce to it. But then you can have a vocal machine that's running 30 IPS and it has full fidelity and some extra, some nice high end to it. It allows you to set up 4 different types of machines to then be shared across your session.
It's so science fiction that it all is in sync and just works. Like you can change the settings so bad that they would have thrown you out of a studio in the past, and it'll just sound right. It's like, oh, here's what you want. Yeah.
Right. This is totally what I was looking for. I was looking to just blow it up, Yeah, of course.
Yeah. That's what Studer at 7.5 IPS is one of the best beginning de-essers, that and a UA 175. Like, you almost don't need a de-esser after those 2 things.
There's a great comment here from Monty saying, also creating presets while you're tweaking helps. Sometimes he comes across ideas in the wrong sessions and he just saves it to his own preset folder. This is something I've been getting better at doing myself too over the last year or so, is like saving my own presets. Like before, for 5-10 years, like I would save my default, like the setting I wanted to start from. That was kind of the only preset I would ever save for myself. But more and more these days, like anytime I do something that I'm like remotely stoked about, I go ahead and save it as a preset, especially for reverbs and delays and creative effects. Like, it's always nice to be able to go back and, you can pull up art, there's tons of amazing artist presets, which, especially for reverbs, I don't know about you guys, but like, I lean really hard on other people's presets for, for things like the 480 or the AMS, the RMX, reverb. These ones that are monolithic,
have a ton of parameters,
tons of parameters, and also just machines that I don't know personally very well. Like, I never used the real ones of those. The guys who made these presets, that's their bread and butter. They've been using the 480 since it came out. So being able to start from those presets, but then say if you, even when I start from someone else's preset, if I kind of tweak it and get something that I like, I save and and call it my own, so I have something to come back to, and I have something a jumping off point for the future.
Yeah, and I love it. Luna just puts them right at the top, right? So all of your presets, it puts them right up there for you. I love that.
Yeah,
that's actually what encouraged me to be making more presets, is the fact that they're the top of the list every time I open the plugin. It's like, oh, that's my stuff. How handy.
Right. Zach's saying, are there plans to add quantizing tools like Beat Detective? So Zach, there is, in the 1.1 update, we added multi-track warping. So if you use, if you put your drum tracks into razor blade mode, and you group them all together, now the transients and the phase will stay together as you move it. The one piece that's missing at the moment is the automatic quantizing of it. So hit the feedback button, let them know how important that is. And trust me, they know how important it is. Cal's asking, where can I buy a Luna t-shirt? funny you should ask, Cal. UA launched its merch store on Reverb like last week.
Yeah.
I think they may have already sold it. I heard a rumor that they already sold out of everything.
We have sold out of some things, but
no socks left.
Yeah, go to reverb.com and see our swag store.
Yeah.
Got to get a Luna shirt.
Well, and also the other way you can get swag is come back for next week's show, obviously, because it's going to be a great show. But the week after that is our last show of the year, and we're going to be giving away, I think, at least 100 swag packs to our loyal viewers.
Nice.
Yeah. So also come join in on that show, and we'll have a lot of fun giving away. Oh, I see Cuckoo's here saying he names the preset on my synths and UAD the console the same, makes it easy to find. Sometimes it's very specific. That's a great tip. I kind of do the same thing, like with my Juno 106. I'll in the track name I'll save, along with the channel strip information, I'll save what preset it was I was using on the synth. So yeah, it's always good to kind of link those two together and remember. You gotta jog the memory sometimes.
Somebody's asking Danielle if you still use Logic Pro. Are you 100% Luna yet?
I haven't opened Logic. I haven't even downloaded the big update that they put out months ago. I feel bad. I ran into Logic going to a coffee shop the other day, and we talked awkward. And I was like, you just got to get over this. It's done.
Sorry, I haven't called, but it's I've been busy.
I want to just say one thing about side chaining while I have a public platform.
Mm-hmm.
Side chaining is awesome, but not side chaining makes you have to EQ things 10 times better.
Mm-hmm.
My EQ chops this summer alone are twice as good because it was a crutch and I never realized that I was doing that. It's like, wow, I'm just letting the side chain deal with all the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And if I was stuck in a studio and had to do this on a bunch of real gear, I wouldn't be able to do it like that. So I got to learn to do it the legit way. And so I taught myself to EQ better.
Man, that's so cool to hear. And you put words to exactly how I felt about using sidechain stuff, right? It's like if I want the effect, if I want the pumping, EDM, that I've said this before, like a tremolo plugin does that super well. LFO Tool, Tremulator by Sound Toys. Yeah. There's like 2 or 3 others I'm forgetting right now that all offer that pumping effect, rhythmic pumping effect, and you can even be much more precise about it than you can with a sidechain compressor. But I'm just saying, boat, like all my analog compressors, none of them have an external sidechain input available, nor do I have the patience to route that around to make it work. So I've been in that same boat of like I've never really relied too heavily on sidechaining as like my primary mix tool. That being said, we see lots of feedback, lots of people asking for sidechain. We're well aware that a lot of people would really appreciate it
if we got it, but
yeah, I
can live. But yeah, it'll be nice if it does show up. I'm sure it will.
Yeah. And Paul, similarly, Paul Crane is asking any plans for more software synths. Absolutely. Keep your eyes peeled here for upcoming announcements around all that sort of stuff. Alfredo's asking for Dolby Type A emulation. That's actually great. This is the first time I've seen someone suggest that. That's a great idea, Alfredo. Hit the feedback button. Let us know. That'd be kind of cool, right? To have the Dolby effect available as part of the tape insert,
like an exciter almost. Yeah,
exactly.
Elisa's 3630. Okay.
Cranked with a sidechain kick. Nice.
Okay.
Here's a good one. How do you add an outboard stereo compressor into Luna? So the way that I'm doing this right now is you basically kind of routing everything into either a bus inside of Luna and then setting the output of that bus to a physical output, running that out into my compressor, and then bringing a audio track to bring it back in. So this ends up working really well for, like if you're doing analog summing, that sort of workflow, or if you are, if you're kind of using an external compressor as a master compressor, right? So as your final part of your chain, because as soon as you've gone out of the box and back in, you're now kind of operating in a delay compensation gets a little hairy. That's the easiest way to say it, right, Drew?
Yeah, you definitely wouldn't want to do that on something that needs to maintain phase coherency. So it's perfect for the master bus, like Ben's talking about, and and we've shown it on the stream before with analog summing and with mastering chains. Like if you go on the YouTube channel and you search for Luna mastering, it'll probably come up with Ben and I both have demoed that stuff. So perfectly acceptable to do it on the master out because you don't need delay comp, but don't want to do it on something that's phase coherent.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Any big UAD plans for next year? No, we're just gonna take it easy all next year.
Yeah, just rest
Take
on
next
our
year off.
Yeah, I mean this year we worked really hard, so we were just all thinking like we'll take next year off. No, Cal, all joking aside, no, we've got some really cool stuff planned coming out for next year. Obviously, it's can't disclose it right now. We want it to be a surprise for you guys, but yeah, there's some super cool stuff. NAMM is right around the corner. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
NAMM's around the corner, guys. It's gonna be virtual NAMM this year. In case you guys haven't been following along, NAMM is fully online, fully open to the public this year as well. If you,
Nice.
as you guys may know, NAMM in the past, you had to know someone to get a badge to get in, and it was exactly right. So this year is fully online, fully public. You can join in. UA, we're going to be doing a bunch of live stream content. Obviously, this live stream's kind of the thing that we do nowadays. So we'll be live streaming some really incredible content during the NAMM show, on top of releasing some exciting new things that may or may not be near me right now, but you guys can't see them.
Oh, that's terrible, Ben.
I know, such a tease.
You are.
Michael's asking, any more Fred and Eli episodes in the works? I believe the virtual background one I showed at the beginning of the show, that's the sixth and final episode of what Fred and Eli did for us for this year. But judging by the response that you guys that we've had to these videos, it seems like you guys would love to see them back, and I would as well. Nice. All right, guys. Well, we're coming up here on time. I guess, Danielle, while we got you here, anything else that you think folks should know, either about Luna or about what you're doing that would be helpful to share?
Luna, just do it. It's got enough in it that you can do pretty much anything you ever need to do. So, there's no excuse to wait until, I want to wait till version whatever, when they solve whatever. It's more time you'd be learning how to do everything else.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that it's free and it's amazing, and it makes our mixes and our tracking sessions so much faster. We can get sounds and be going in no time now. We didn't have that before.
Yeah.
Oh, and real quick, I just want to give a shout out to all the girls at the studio: April, Leah, Abby, and Amanda. They help me every day keep from losing what's left of my sanity and keep me sound good.
And what's the name of the studio? And you're in Lexington, Kentucky, right?
Yes, Nitrosonic Studios, and we have a website for nitrosonicstudios.com, and we have nitrosonicmasteringhouse.com. Oh, I am thrilled because I am now an Apple Digital Masters provider.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
So
Congrats.
you can do the 9624. You can do the actual mastered for iTunes, right?
Yeah. So with the stuff, it's how you get on their good playlists and all the fancy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We got cleared for that a few months ago. I'm still, like, woohoo over that.
That's great. Well, Danielle, it's so awesome to have you on here. Thank you so much for all your support throughout the year. It's always, you're literally the first name I see every time we boot up the stream. The first chat I see is Danielle. How's everybody's morning? You always have such good positivity, such great energy for the community. And yeah, it's so cool to hear more about what you're doing and how Luna has been a major part of that. So yeah, we're so stoked to finally have you on here, and this won't be the last time, that's for sure, because you fit right in here with the Office Hours crew.
Yeah, and she does the same thing on the Facebook groups too. She's super active there and is always very helpful and generous with her time and answers a lot of questions over and over again. Sometimes the same question over and over again, but
I never thought to just start making a document with all these questions that go repeated. I always just type it out. I need to innovate a little bit.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice. Well, guys, thank you everybody for tuning in. Again, we've got a fun week of shows ahead. We've got Jakir King on tomorrow. We're going to be breaking down a mix session together with him. We've got the beat battle happening on Thursday, where we're going to pick our winning beat to move forward and create a song and a mix from. That's going to be Thursday. So yeah, lots of fun shows this week. We're trying to end the year on a big bang. So yeah, hopefully we'll see you guys back here later this week. And until then, everybody have a good rest of your day, good rest of your week. Go make some music. Talk to y'all soon.
Bye, y'all.
Yes.
Let me just call Fred here.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Fred, how's it going? Hey, I was listening to that last track. Hey, where are you?
My home studio.
That's your studio.
Yeah, my home studio.
Wow, it looks a lot different from this morning.
Yeah, I just keep collecting, just keep getting more and more equipment. I mean, that's just how it is. I'm just an equipment nerd, so I just keep filling up the room.
I see. Hey, Fred, is that a virtual background you're using?
No.
Really?
Why would I do that?
Okay. When did you get that Rhodes?
I got it. I bought it from another studio last year.
Uh-huh.
They were just selling off a bunch of stuff. So, yeah, it's really good. I mean, I love it. It's got that kind of rickety sound that I kind of like because it's a real Rhodes.
I got a question. Can you right now, while we're on this call, can you just plug that Strat behind you? I just want to hear the tone.
I love my Strat. I think that's got a really good tone, and the Telecaster does too. So the Telecaster and the Strat, I'll just probably record them both, and I'll send those out to you, and just let me know what you think. Right? It's good to see you, buddy.
No, actually, we're really tight on time. If you could plug it in now, why don't you grab it? Let's just grab it. I just want to hear it.
They're up and tuned. I detuned them and then tuned them up again. So it's like special tuning. I just don't want to get it down right now. But, I got my Moog right here. Get ready to go. I can't wait for you to hear it. I'll record it and I'll send it to you.
Hey, hold on a second. One more question. That patch bay you got going on back there behind you?
Yeah.
How does that work? Can you just show me some of those patches that you got going on?
Yeah, what do I care? It's my studio. I love it. I'm going to go fix the patches.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just patching these up.
Wow.
Really good.
Impressive.
I want the sound to be good for you, man. I'm fixing them.